Artio here. Welcome to the Sophomore Drome. 2 albums go in, only one comes out. And today's top contestants are David Bowie and his self-titled David Bowie and Electric Warrior from T-Rex. Now, as normal, the first album that came out goes first, and in this case it was David Bowie and the David Bowie album, commonly known as Space Oddity. No, that's what people want to call it, but it's on the cover it says David Bowie. This is his second album, of course, and it came out on the 14th of November 1969. Now, David Bowie plays vocals, acoustic guitar, stylophone, chord organ and kalimba. Tim Renwick plays electric guitar, flute and recorder. Keith Christmas plays an acoustic guitar on here. Mick Wayne plays guitars. Rick Wakeman plays the Mellotron electric harpsichord. Tony Visconti is bass, guitar and flute. Herbie Flowers, bass guitar. John Lodge plays bass guitar on this as well. John Cambridge on the drums and Terry Cox. And Benny Marshall and Friends harmonica, and backing vocals we've got Paul Buckmaster on the cello. So this album opens up with one of my favourite David Bowie songs, and it is Space Oddity. The highlight of this course is the stylophone, which I learnt how to play on the stylophone. It's just a brilliant track, isn't it? Absolutely top drawer, and it's the song that really started David Bowie's fame. Then we have Unwashed and Somewhat Slightly Dazed. I quite like this. It's got the riffs are good, but that harmonica can be a little bit off-putting. But it's still an okay track. Then we get Letter to Hermione, or Hermione, depends how you want to pronounce it. Just a short track, very similar to what you got on the debut album that was also called David Bowie. It's a little bit acoustic. It's I don't know if it was left over from that album, but I've never been a big fan of that song. Then we have Cygnet Committee. I don't mind this one. He was starting to develop his own sort of sound on this. You could see that potential with this song. It's a good lyric. It's a long song. It's 9 minutes long, and I think it is one of them groundbreaking tracks. Then we have Janine. Again, we're starting to develop the sound. I quite like that track. Occasional Dream, very little quirky tune this is. I love the flute in this. It's a wonderful piece of flute work. Really fits in with this song, and that's played by the one and only Mr. Tony Visconti, of course. Very, very good track. Then we have Wild Eyed Boy from Freecloud. One of the best starts of on the track here. It's got that real nice sound to it. It's a pretty good track. God Knows I'm Good. I struggle with this one. It's listenable, but it's not very memorable. It's one that I had to go, oh yeah, that's what it sounds like. Then we have A Memory of a Free Festival. I'm not keen on this one either. I did struggle with this one. Yes, it's not the best track. Okay, this album, in my opinion, Space Oddity is a classic. He was still in that development stage. There were some good tracks on here that really did show that potential, though. So it wasn't until the next album that he really started to shine. Okay, what did the critics think of it? Now, he received mixed reviews from the critics on this. Penny Valentine of Disc and Music Echo was positive, describing the album as a rather doomy, unnerving. But Bowie's point come across like a latter-day Dylan. It is an album of a lot of people are going to expect a lot of him, and I don't think they will be disappointed. A reviewer for Music for Now offered a similar praise, calling it deep, thoughtful, probing, exposing, and guffing at your innards, and concluded this is more than a record, it is an experience. People did think it. Robert Christgau said, this album and the man who sold the world to be overwrought excursions. This bloke is a clown. So I'm not a very big fan of him, as you know. He just talks rubbish half the time. So let's have a look at the professional rating. So AllMusic gave it a 3 out of 5. Classic Rock gave it 8 out of 10. The Encyclopedia of Popular Music gave it a 4 out of 5. New Music Express gave it a 6 out of 10. Pitchfork gave it a 6.7. Pop Matters gave it a 8 out of 10. Record Collector gave it a 3 out of 5. Just like the Rolling Stone Album Guide. So what did the fans think? Well, it got number 21 in Australia, number 17 here in the UK, Canada 13, Finland 27, Spain loved it, it got in their top 10, and on the US it got to number 16. So let's have a look at the old nuts and bolts of David Bowie. Song quality. Well, the songs are getting there. This is still, I think, a very in progress album, but Space Oddity is an absolute gem, and I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. The production, well, when you've got Tony Visconti involved, you know it's going to get great production. I think he's involved in the next album as well, believe it or not, I think. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Reception. It was mixed. Very mixed. I think this album is one of them albums that gets better as time goes on. So I'm going to give that 3 out of 5. For cover design, it's not the best cover, is it? I think, sort of David Bowie gets lost in them colours. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. So for David Bowie by David Bowie gives us a grand total of 13 out of 20. So the next contender into the Sophomore Drome is T-Rex's Electric Warrior, released in 1971. Playing on here, of course, is Mark Boland on the vocals and guitars, the ever-present Mickey Fing on congos, bongos and vocals, bass guitarist Steve Curry, Bill Legend is on the drums and tambourine, additional musicians Howard Kaylan on backing vocals, Mark Volman on backing vocals. We have Rick Wakeman again appeared on David Bowie's, just the keyboards on Get It On. Ian MacDonald on saxophone, Bert Collins on flugelhorn, and the producer Tony Visconti. So Tony had his hand in both albums here, and Rick Wakeman plays on both. So let's have a look at this album. So the first track is Mambo Sun, which is a great song. I love that chunky guitar. Always one of my favourite tracks from here from Mark. Then we have another great track, Cosmic Dancer. Some lovely effects, and remember this is 1971. So got a great guitar solo on it. Wonderful. Then we have Jeepster, which is one of my favourite all-time T-Rex tracks. Absolutely killer, that is. And then Monolith, some lovely guitar on here. This is quite funky for Mark. He's really starting to get into this little groove. I think this is a lot to do with Tony Visconti. And then we have Lean Woman Blues, a great bluesy track with some great riffs. Once again, an absolute belting solo on it. We'll turn it off. Then we have the classic Get It On. The little bit of work from Mr. Whit Rackman on there. Absolutely brilliant track. One of my favourites again. Then we have Planet Queen. Mickey Finn's percussion on this is brilliant. I just think it is a little bit different and it works so well. Then we get Girl. Love this track as well. The flugelhorn is really different on it, which adds to it. Let me go into some really great tracks. The Motivator. I mean, I saw that T-Rex do this. It's a great track. It's got a cranky sort of riff on it. Can't get any better than that. Well, you can. You can get Life's a Gas, which again has got that sort of that real glammy sound to it. Fantastic track. And then we end off with Rip Off. A great track, one of the classic tracks from this period. Some great saxophone here for me and McDonald. What more do you need? It's just a great track to end a great album. This is a classic album, top to bottom, full of brilliant tracks. This is when Mark was really at the height. There's not a bad track on this. I love it. So what did the critics think? Well, in 1972, a review for Rolling Stone, Ben Gerson noted Bolan's transition from his earlier fairy tale lyrics, nothing that now his targets are your common rock and roll cliches, as well common pseudo-poetic, pseudo-psychological and rock and roll cliches. What Mark seems to be saying on Electric Warrior is that rock is ultimately quaint as wizards and as unicorns. Gerson concluded the album established Boland as the heaviest rocker under 5'4". Robert Christgau reserved his praise. A freak hit turned into a singer. And he calls it Bang-A-Gong. It's not Bang-A-Gong, Robert. It's called Get It On. Oh, really annoys me. Oof. He was not a great fan. And if he calls it Bang-A-Gong, you know, this is tells what a twerp he is. So, there's a few, one positive and one that doesn't know what he's talking about. So let's have a look at the professional music ratings. So AllMusic gave it 5 stars out of 5. Christgau only gave it a B, but we'll dismiss that. Encyclopedia of Popular Music gave it 5 stars. Q gave it 4 stars. These are out of 5. Music OMH gave it 4.5. Pitchfork gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Uncut gave it 5 out of 5. Record Collector gave it a 5 out of 5. So how did the fans react to this one? Australia, number 15. Germany, number 14. Norway, number 12. Here in number 1 here in the UK. And number 32 in America, which isn't too bad because they really didn't catch on to this glam rock stuff, did they? Certifications, it went gold here in the UK and in America, which is pretty decent. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. Okay, song quality. Well, what can you say? Hit after hit after hit after hit. It's just an album. Okay, there's only a few singles, but these are the big tracks that the fans love. I love all these songs. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Production. Tony Visconti's production is great. It's got some innovation stuff on it. Some of the effects on the guitars are amazing. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Reception. Most critics liked it except Robert Chris Galbert. He's always been an oddball, as I keep saying. But the fans loved it, especially here. We loved it, and it's still a very popular album. So I'm going to give that a 4. Cover design. Classic, isn't it? The black background, the amp, and Mark playing the guitar. Everyone knows what album cover that is. Oh, that's Electric Warrior. So I'm going to give that a 4 as well. So it's all the 4s for Electric Warrior. And T-Rex gives us a total of 16 out of 20. And it's an obvious... this was always going to be a no-brainer for me. As much as I like Bowie, I'm a bigger T-Rex fan. I did go in with an open mind, but you can't do that when it's Electric Warrior. It doesn't matter if it's Electric Warrior or Tanks or Slider. This is always gonna come out on top. I think it's just a better album. If it had been up against Ziggy or The Man Who Sold the World, it'd have been a different matter, a different kettle of fish. But in this instance, the David Bowie album's only got one brilliant track on it. This has got an album full of them. So today's winner is Electric Warrior. Now, do you agree with me or not? This is where you get your chance to battle it out with me. From 2 o'clock in the community there will be the poll. And then tonight we'll run a little poll on the live stream, and Dave will announce the winner next week. Like it will really announce last week's this evening. Are you going to pull it back to 1-1, or will I take a 2-0 lead? All will be revealed later. Anyway, that's all for this Sophomore Drome. We'll be back very shortly with a pick and mix. And we're going to take a wander down the sidewalk today because it is the USA Top 10. And we're going to look at the year 1977 on this day. So join me for that later. Bye for now.